Hey everybody, Big Ron here. Obviously, Dusty's not here with me today. He's still in the hospital. He's been in the hospital for 3 weeks and he's going to be in there for several more weeks, it looks like. So he's got a long road to recovery, but he's a tough guy and he's been fighting hard and things are coming around. It's unbelievable the amount of support that he's gotten, that we've all gotten for him through you, all the messages that his friends are getting. And obviously, everyone that's given to the GoFundMe, we'll put the link up here, has been amazing because, when you live in the States, hospital bills, long-term stay hospital bills can get pretty ridiculous. So we just want to help Dusty come out of this because it's going to be quite a shock when he realizes kind of what's happened. We don't want to dwell on the negative. We want to just try to keep it lighthearted. And I thought that keeping the show going would be the right thing to do because Dusty doesn't like to stop doing stuff. He likes to, keep going. So I thought I'd have some fun today. I've been wanting to have Paul Lauzon on the show for a long time. I know that you guys love Paul from Bodybuilding and Bollocks and Bro Chat. And I've known Paul for a long time as well. And I thought that we'd probably have a good laugh. So it was great to have him on. We go back a long ways, like I said, and there was a lot of things I wanted to cover with Paul because he's done it all. He's competed at the national level, and obviously training and traveling with Fouad all those years. And now he's a pro judge. So, he really has seen bodybuilding from the inside at all levels. And Paul has a lot to say and a lot of knowledge. He's been in bodybuilding even longer than I have. So, he's one of the guys that really knows what's up. So I had a lot of fun talking to Paul. And like I said, there's definitely going to be a second visit from him. So, just keeping it positive and having fun. And, Scott going to be producing the show and I'm going to be doing my best to keep things rolling for It's Just Bodybuilding. So in light of that, hope you enjoy the first episode back while Dusty's away recovering. Paul Lauzon. Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. Obviously with Dusty out of commission right now, laying up and recovering from what he's been through, I'm left alone on the show. And I figured, you know what? I've always wanted to have Paul Lauzon come and join me on It's Just Bodybuilding because I know he's going to have some stories. Oh, yeah. So Paul, I brought you in to help me out this week so we can get an episode and keep the show going. For sure. And, Dusty and I were talking about having you on. So, I figured it was a good time. I know you pretty well for years and years, Yeah, how you been?
Back. I'm doing good. Everything's going good. I miss, traveling, doing shows, judging shows and stuff and seeing guys like you, but hopefully we'll get back to that soon enough.
Yeah. How's the weather out there where you are?
That's the first question I get asked these days. It's nice today. It's a little chilly still, not quite pool weather, but we got some 30s last week.
So you're in Windsor, right?
Yeah.
So
Windsor,
you're just across the bridge from Scott McNally, our producer, because they're in Detroit.
Yeah, right. Are they right in Detroit or are they in the outskirts?
I don't know. I don't know exactly. It's one of the burbs.
Yeah. I love it over there. I love Detroit.
Yeah. So I wanted to. You're an interesting guy because you have a lot of different things that you've done and seen in the industry and outside of the industry.
Yeah.
And one thing I thought I'd start off with is you work for Border Security, Canadian Border Security. So how long have you been? How long? 20 years, eh?
Yeah, it was my 20th year. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't just work for the border. You work for the border in the Windsor, Detroit area.
Yeah, I work at Ambassador Bridge. That's
a massive crossing, isn't it? Like one of the biggest in the world for traffic, right?
It's the busiest commercial crossing in North America. It may be world. I'm not 100% sure about that, but commercial traffic, it's by far the busiest in North America. We get I think it's like 10,000 trucks a day back and forth.
Right. So what do you, you've been there 20 years, so you must have done a lot of different things there, but what do you normally do now?
Now I'm commercial. I'm a commercial officer. I work on the front lines though. So tomorrow morning, I'm in tomorrow morning at 7, which I struggle with those day shifts. But I'm right up there on the line. I'm up there in the booth, clearing trucks paperwork, and then I'm in the back searching trucks. Sometimes I'm at the warehouse where we search the trailers, what we call offloads or whatever, Right. But I'm primarily commercial though. I don't deal with car traffic so much. So I don't deal with all the PHAC stuff going on right now so much.
Right. You're not shaking down dreadlocked backpackers at the foot crossing, eh?
No, I'm not. No, we don't have a foot crossing at the bridge.
Oh, okay. There
So
isn't one. Eh?
I know out in BC, you
Empty
guys
your
got things like
sandals.
that.
Let's see
Yeah.
what's in your sandals.
Out in BC, you guys have that, eh? Like the pedestrian
Right.
crossings.
Yeah, there's pedestrian crossings here. So yeah, that's why I just assumed. So what, people think, obviously as us bodybuilders, we have this certain experience with border crossing guards,
Yeah,
they all look
right.
at us a certain way. I mean, you traveled with Fouad, you've been big your whole life. Like,
Yeah,
whenever you go across the border at 300 plus pounds, you know that, they're looking at you and they're sussing out whether you have just Tupperware dishes or maybe a little more.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
so what's your experience been like as a bodybuilder in that system? What do you
Um,
how think we think they care too much? They're not really that interested in us, or what's the take?
um, I mean, like my own experiences I could speak of, I've actually an interesting experience I could tell you when I was off duty once. You know how Fouad and I promote shows together.
Yeah.
So our Windsor show one year we brought in Jason Ha and Seth Ferosi. And I forget what year that was, maybe 2015 or so. Anyway, so I had to bring those guys back to the airport the following Sunday morning. And at the time, I was driving a Honda Civic. So I got Jason next to me. And at the time, Jason was like probably 320 pounds. He was the biggest dude I'd ever seen him up, in person at that point at the
Yeah.
time. And Seth in the backseat, who was like, 240, 250, shredded.
Yeah.
And 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, Sunday, I'm driving across and the US border agent's like, where are you guys going? And I was like, oh, I'm bringing these guys to the airport. They got a flight. They just guest posed at a show in Windsor. And he's like, huh. He's like, what do you guys do? And I was like, these guys are pro bodybuilders, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, all right, what are you guys bringing in? They're like, food. They're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, see you guys. And that was it, man. Like,
Yeah.
but like, I thought for sure we're getting pulled in. Like, there's like, even the weight limit of the car was probably well over at that point, I
Right.
thought
Right.
for sure we're getting pulled in, but they let us skate by. But
Y-
crossing the border, I used to go with Fouad a lot to his shows in the States
Yeah.
when he was, actively competing still. And, we always got treated great. I never had a bad experience, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in the States. American guys seem to have a little bit more acceptance for bigger guys, And but yeah, I've always had good experiences. I've never had a bad experience.
I always felt the same way. I felt like when I was going to the States, I, more often than not would get a border guard saying like, how much you bench?
Yeah, yeah,
Or something like that. But
yeah,
all the times I ever got like, pulled aside and asked to empty my bags, and also I'm a pretty reasonable guy, so I know that there
Mhm.
is certain amount of like, it's not just because I'm big,
Right,
like maybe they saw something on the X-ray and they need to look like,
right.
or whatever. And I know certain food isn't allowed, so maybe they think I got, this or that. So, but
Mhm.
there have been a few times where I thought, I just kind of got pulled because of being a bodybuilder, and that was always just coming home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. From Canadian customs.
Yeah, yeah.
Really? Eh?
It was
Yeah,
always a
yeah.
Canadian custom. So
I
I
think
never had a problem going to the States.
I think big guys stand out more in Canada than in the U.S.
Yeah, maybe. There's
Yeah.
not as much other news either, you
Right.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. For
What
sure.
what's the craziest bust you've ever had? Like, you ever have a guy with like, 10 kilos of heroin just try and stroll through your fucking booth and you happen to know?
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't go into great detail about things
Right,
at
right,
work, about like particular cases, but I've been
right.
involved with large scale. What we mostly see here in Windsor is cocaine coming in.
Right, right.
That's probably the most common large scale, high value, contraband that we see here in Windsor that gets intercepted.
And so have you had like some crazy surprises?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Those, I mean, not so much like lately, like, when you're early parts of your career, you kind of get involved with these teams where, the enforcement teams and that, where you're doing a lot of the digging. Now I'm more like a primary officer where where we kind of send stuff to those teams,
Right.
later in the chain. So I don't get my hands dirty so much, I guess you could say anymore. But yeah, but I'm still there. I'm still present when it happens, and it does
Oh
happen. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Do you remember you remember like um any trips where you came in handy that you worked for Border?
Um, Like just because I knew like what to expect and things like
Yeah,
that,
you
or
maybe knew how
yeah,
to handle it or speed it up a little bit,
yeah.
so you maybe didn't
Well,
miss your connection, you know?
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, like even like like traveling with Fouad back in the day, back when we would cross the border a lot for his shows and guest appearances, and there would be scrutinized, at times, and I'd always just tell him, oh, listen, we just cooperate. We're out of here in 5 minutes. Just let them do what they got to do. We're not doing anything illegal. We know that. So let's just cooperate, do what they got to do. Don't give them a hard
Right.
time. We'll be out here in 5 minutes.
You're
And that's always been the case.
So aside from being his sort of free legal advice at the border, what all those years you trained with Fouad, I got to bring those up, and I don't want Fouad's head to get too big either. That we're talking about,
Yeah, I don't want that to happen.
the pleasures of training with him, but you got to do something that hundreds of thousands or millions of bodybuilders always dreamed of doing, and that's be on the inner circle at the pro level, at the highest level, all the way to the Olympia. And so, your experiences traveling and training with Fouad, you have a lot of insight that a lot of people they wouldn't never, ever get to have.
For sure.
And what do you think, looking back on it all, what do you think you brought to Fouad's team the most, looking back on it? What do you think your role, I know training partner, but really what was it?
Well, I mean, Fouad and I are also best friends, not just training partners. So, like, he's always been my go-to, when I need something, or if I need to talk about something, and and the same with me. So yeah, I mean, like back in those days, Fouad would get, before a competition, he would get wound up, like a lot of guys do. You're worried about the way you look, things like that. And, I'd always try to just be there for him as, just an ear, basically, because he knows, like, he knows that he's just overreacting to the situation, but it's hard for him to, realize that in the moment. So, and all he wants to do is really vent. And that's all anybody really wants to do in those situations is vent. So, he just tried to be a good listener, try to be like the voice of reason, like, try to calm someone down. And, I think that was an important role that I played at times. That, and, I think consistency, like in the gym and that, because like, Ron, like you've been around, as long as I have, maybe not quite as long, but, you're not as old as I am, but you know what it is, like guys will fall off, anyone could train hard for 6 weeks, 6 months,
Yeah,
even maybe 6 years, but not too many guys are around 10 plus years banging every day still.
Yeah. Yeah. Very rare. Like you sort of, I know there's probably a lot of unsung heroes and guys that just didn't get mentioned for one reason or another, but you sort of got mentioned all, like, Fouad also made sure that people knew that,
yeah, for sure, he did.
Paul was his number one guy. And just like how Dorian had Leroy and a handful of guys around him. And, a lot of champions had like that kind of one training partner, Johnny and Branch obviously are an exception, Arnold and Franco, and I've always been fascinated with training partners as well, because I've only had a handful of actual real long-term training partners in 30 years of training. And it's way harder to find than I think people realize when you're trying to be a pro bodybuilder.
For sure. There has to be a little bit of compromise on both of your parts, schedule wise. You're not always going to want to train at the same time. You try to work that stuff out, amongst each other. And, like me and Fouad, it's been so many years now. Like we've got a really good thing going where, especially right now, we're kind of training a little bit out of town right now. So it's about a 25-minute drive to get to the gym. So, we talk the whole time. Once we get there, put the earphones on, you don't talk anymore. It's not like a rule, so to speak. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And then on the way home, you talk about the workout or whatever, and
real estate market,
cool. Yeah, weather, politics.
For sure. I got a lot of good questions. People really got a kick out of the fact that I was having you on.
Really?
So there was no shortage. Yeah. And I want to get to a few of the ones from people that first.
Okay. I can't wait for these.
So I got to ask you about fatherhood first.
Sure.
What do you think? This might be a weird question, but I'm trying to spin bodybuilding in a positive way.
Okay.
What do you think you can take from bodybuilding that you can teach to your kids?
Oh, lots. Discipline, nutrition, the importance of hard work, and perseverance, because bodybuilding's a journey. It's not a short-term thing. It's going to take you years to get where you want to be if your goals are big. So I think those, like, hard work, discipline, nutrition, I think not a lot of kids learn that. I mean, as
Right.
well, like the average adult doesn't really know much about nutrition, unless they've done a little bit of research, which I think as bodybuilders, that surprises us a lot of times because we take it for granted. So those are three big things for sure. Plus, I mean, as bodybuilders, I'm sure you're the same way, Ron. Like, I'm a homebody, like if it's not going to the gym or work, I don't really go anywhere else, so I'm home all the time with my kids, and that's important. I think, I think it's important for your kids to be with you a lot. I don't want my kids going to daycares and things like that and babysitters. My
Yeah.
wife and I spend a lot of time with our girls.
How old are your kids?
6 and 10, two girls.
6 and 10.
Hmm.
So Ian asked a question. He wants to know which one of your kids is your favorite.
I don't have a favorite, but my youngest one's more like me. That's for sure. She's a
Oh,
me dad.
okay.
She's a me dad.
Okay.
She took after me completely.
She could be a quarterback or something.
Well, no, she's kind of built like me a little bit. Like, she's kind of short. She's got big feet like me, which is kind of weird. She's got big calves, which is one of the only body parts I ever had any decent genetics for, even though they're gone now.
Right.
So yeah, you can tell she's definitely she physically took after me a lot, and the way she behaves.
What do you think, do you ever do anything that's just so dad that you laugh at yourself?
Yeah, I fucking worry about them like crazy, man. I when they're at a park or something like that, they go up, like, when they're jumping around on these, like, these monkey bar things they have at these parks. I'm always like, get down there, stop doing that, you're gonna hurt yourself. I'm like way overboard on that. And I was really bad. My first daughter, for the first couple of years of her life, I was like that helicopter parent, that was like over
Right.
her, hovering, didn't want her to get like hurt in any way. And I learned, though, because I made mistakes. I learned that I saw she was starting to get too soft. So I learned from that, and I tried to reverse it now. And I'm with my youngest one, I didn't make those same mistakes, and I can see a big difference in her where she's just tougher.
Right. You got to let them like fall and skin their knee a little bit. Is that what
You
you're saying?
do. You do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that took
Yeah.
me a long time to get good with, I guess. I'm still not good with it, but I just learned to react to it better.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What, what is there anything when you mentioned the list of the bodybuilding positives? Do you think there's anything that you're already got into them?
Nutrition. My oldest daughter, she eats
Yeah.
better than I do. I swear to God, this kid eats nothing but like chicken and vegetables. And, yeah, she loves healthy food. She loves like protein and like vegetables, and, she
Right.
likes plain food. So she's definitely taken that after me. As far as them getting involved with like sports or training or anything like that yet, haven't got there yet with them. And COVID didn't really help things the last couple of years with organized sports, pretty much,
Oh yeah.
being canceled. But I'm trying to get them into like maybe taking an MMA class or something like that with me. Something me and Fouad have been talking about for a while too. Him and I want to take one. And I thought if I can find a place that has like a kids class with it, like off to the side where the adults go in one room and the kids go in another.
Yeah.
I want to try and do something like that with them in the future.
Would you do like Brazilian jiu-jitsu maybe
Yeah, something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, something like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or like some type of MMA, at least some type of self-defense.
Yeah. I always used to tell myself that when I got out of bodybuilding, I would slowly, pick away at Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
And then over the last 10 years of my training, like when I was still competing, I saw all these other bodybuilders go to MMA class and tear their biceps.
yo, that's a common injury. Yeah,
And I just saw so many guys tearing their biceps at jiu-jitsu. I was like, fuck, I don't know if I want to go. Cause like everyone, it seems like so many, I can't even
the arm
count.
bars, eh?
Yeah. And I asked my one buddy who it happened to, I said, why do you think all the bodybuilders tear their biceps? And he goes, oh, it's because we're, we're so strong that when someone gets us in an arm bar, what happens every single time is you just think I can just stand up and slam this guy,
Right,
and you just stand up and slam him. But the physics on that jolt are like, 300-pound barbell curl.
right.
And we're not used to jolting with weights. Like, we don't train our body like that at all. Our nervous system doesn't do
Yeah,
that.
right. Yeah,
And
right.
and you hit the end of that and all that transfer and all that speed, and it doesn't feel heavy to you. You pick the guy up and bomb him with one arm, and then your bicep snaps on the other end of it. That's happened to a bunch of guys I know.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. A long time ago, like when I was like in my early 20s, I used to bounce downtown a lot at a lot of the bars, and a lot of the guys that I used to work with, we sort of like formed this like unorganized MMA class. It was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu basically. We had a couple guys we worked with were black belts, and we just kind of like rented a dojo on a Sunday afternoon for a few months. And the black belts guys would just kind of show us stuff, and we just have like an informal class like that. So there was a guy locally who was a UFC fighter at the time, and he gets wind of this class that we're doing. So he calls me up one day, and he's like, "Hey, I heard you guys got this thing going on." He's like, "I'm looking for some bigger muscular guys to spar with because I got a fight coming up. I want to come and spar with you." And I'm like, fuck, this guy's going to tear me in half, man. Like, I'm not good. Like, I've been doing these for like maybe 4 weeks, 6 weeks. I got no skills. This guy's going to rip me in half.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I call up one of my buddies and I'm like, and he knows it. He knows him better than me. And I'm like, listen, he just invited me he wants to come down and spar with me. And he's like, oh, don't fucking go, man. He's going to kill you. He's like, he's ruthless. He'll fucking kill you. So I was like, okay. So the day came along and I played sick, whatever. I didn't go. So one of my friends went though. He had the balls to still go. He ends up tearing his bicep.
Oh no.
He sparred instead and he tore his bicep. And man, afterwards I was like, fuck, thank God I didn't go to that because you for sure would have tore my bicep. And probably some
Yeah.
more things.
Yeah. Yeah. Your worst injury was a pec tear, right?
Yeah, I've got a bad pec tear and I couldn't get it fixed because it tore in the fibers. I didn't tear at the attachment. So
Oh,
yeah, I
fuck.
got a
Okay.
big gap in my chest from like my armpit to like middle of my chest. Basically, it
I
tore
know
off.
that's a pretty famous story. Yeah.
Yeah. I jokingly blame it on Fouad, but it wasn't really his fault. Um, I was late for the gym one day, and I just didn't bother to take the time to warm up properly because I was late, and he was already like
Yeah.
a couple sets deep. So I just jumped on the bar, with a heavier weight than I should have to warm up with, and 3 sets in, popped.
Fuck. Same story, eh?
Yeah, bench press.
So when was your first show?
My first show was 1992. I was 19 years old.
Man. And so I remember you talking on your guys' show that
Mm-hmm.
you had competed against Kovacs before he
Greg
was pro.
Kocavs. Yeah,
Yeah. So what was that like at the Ontario's one year you ran into Kovacs or what?
Western Ontario, 1994. But not the same weight class. Obviously, Greg was, back then. I don't think we even had super heavies back then. I think he was just a
No.
heavyweight. But
No.
I was like a middleweight. I think I weighed 176 or whatever. So he had like 100 pounds on me. So yeah, what happened was I competed in '92. I did a show as a junior, Stratford's. Won my class. The next year, I went in as an open when I was 20, and I won the overall. And like Robert Kennedy wrote me a letter, like a handwritten letter, saying like,
Right.
"Hey man, you got some potential. I'm gonna watch out for you. Send me some pictures and I'll put you in my magazine." So in my head, I'm thinking that I'm fucking something sweet now. I'm thinking that I'm gonna make a living off this sport. So
Right.
so that was 93. 94, I go to do the Western Ontario's because back then we had 5 levels in Canada back then.
Yeah.
So I went on to my level 2 show, and Greg Kovacs is at the weigh-in. Him and Freddie. You know who Freddie and Tiwi is?
Yeah. Freaky
Freaky
Freddy.
Freddy. Yeah, Freaky Freddy was in the show too. So I'm backstage weighing in, and I see those two, and I'm like this. I'm not in the right sport, man. What am I doing here? Like this is stupid. So I was so blown out head wise. I didn't even come back for the finals, and I quit the sport for 10 years.
No way.
Yeah. I just thought, yeah, I don't have it. I don't have it. I don't. This isn't a sport for
But
me.
you kept training?
I kept training, but I knew I had to find a career now. Because like I wasn't really into school so much. I wasn't a university guy. I went to college for a little bit, but that was it. And I kind of wanted to be a police officer or something similar to that. So I knew I had to start. I had to find myself a job. So
Yeah.
I was still bouncing in bars. Working some jobs here and there that weren't really working out for me. And then I finally got a break and got a decent job, and that led to a better job down the road.
So when did you start training with Fuad?
I started training with Fouad in 2006. Um, so what happened was I took a 10-year break from the sport, like I said. And then in 2004, I just got the itch again. I also become a judge, though. I skipped over that part. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna
Um,
get to judging. Yeah.
yeah, I became a judge around 2000. Remember Nimrod King?
Yep. Yep.
Nim was a friend of mine. Nim lived in Windsor for a few years, and we became good friends. And Nim was Western Regional Director at the time for Ontario for the OPA. And Nim asked me if I wanted to start judging shows. He needed some more judges, so I did, and I judged a lot of shows with Nim and my friend Darren Fink, and back and Rudy Jambrosic was judging back in those days already, and Ron
Yep.
Hache, and so that I started getting back involved in the sport, started getting wanted to compete again. So in 2004, I decided I want to get back on stage again. And I knew Fouad a little bit, but not too well. In fact, I had judged him in his first show a year or so prior to that. So I knew him a little bit, and he was, he was probably the most, he was the guy locally who was, the most successful as an amateur bodybuilder, I guess you could. So I asked him to help me out because I was kind of away from the game for a while. I didn't really know what to do diet wise, supplement wise, and that to get back in shape again. What guys were doing now. So I asked Fouad to help me out, and then we just became friends and training partners after that. And then, yeah, now he's godfather of my kids. He's my neighbor pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember? Because I did 24 shows.
You did 24 shows?
Yeah, I did 24 shows.
You did nationals, what, 9 times?
13 times.
13 times you did nationals?
Yeah.
Holy cow, I did not realize it was that many times.
And I got second 8 times.
I remember you got second a bunch of times.
Yeah, and then first twice. Once was in the supers and once was in the masters.
That's when you got your pro card.
Yeah, so I remember being at that show a lot, and I remember you judging.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what years you would have judged me.
Yeah, I didn't become national until what year would that have been? It was late because under the old CBBF regime, we were only allowed like 2 national judges in Ontario or something like that. And Ron and Rudy, and Winston Roberts at the time.
Right.
So those guys, they were entrenched for a long time, and there was no room for anybody else, basically.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until we switched over to I did finally get my national qualification before the split happened.
Yeah, what year would that have been? I'm not sure if you even judged me when I was at nationals.
I don't think I didn't, Ron, but I judged the nationals the year you emceed it in Edmonton.
Oh, okay. So we just missed each other then.
Yeah, and I judged. I judged a couple other shows that you were at, though, national qualifiers in Toronto. I think the Ben Weeder one year they held it in Toronto was a pro qualifier. Who's the guy that won that show? He just competed us. I can't remember right now.
It's funny because those shows all like just mush together.
Oh man,
and then seeing you in the judging coat just mushes together with all the other judges. Like,
right.
It's so crazy that, because I thought maybe you judged me like once or twice at the tail end, but I guess not, eh?
I competed with you one year. I mean, you were heavyweight. You were supers. I was heavyweight. Yeah. The year Ben Pekulski won, you were second. I competed with you that year. Oh wait, yes. Yeah. That was the only year I did nationals. Okay. Yeah. I finished 9th in heavyweights. Yeah. You finished second to Ben. Yeah. So but I never judged you at a national show though.
Yeah, no, man, it's crazy. What do you think? When I think about all the shows I did and all the preps, there's always the easy preps, and then there's the hard preps.
Yeah.
When you look back at all the pro shows you did with Fouad, in your mind, is there anyone that stands out as like an easy prep that you guys just fucking smashed, and you just like you talk about how it just went perfectly and like the workouts were ridiculous and everything was perfect, or the opposite where you thought maybe he wasn't going to make it and you were doing everything you could? Like, does anything like that stand out to you?
Yeah, well, his last although he was in Toronto at the time, but we still would talk daily whenever, when he did the Arnolds, that would have been 2016. I want to say when he had injured his quad that year, or that was his hamstring. I can't remember. It was either his quad or his hamstring he had injured. He couldn't train legs for the last, I think it was 6 weeks of the show or something like that. He couldn't train legs. So that, but it was the Arnolds. He committed to it. He had to see it through. And he still did pretty good. He still ended up, I think that year he was 6th or 7th, right. Which, for the Arnolds is awesome. But yeah, he just, it played on him, that he just didn't he couldn't train the way he wanted to for that show. So he knew it wasn't going to look the way he wanted to. So that was definitely, but his best shows, he always jokes that his best shows were when he was in Toronto and I wasn't training with him, but it's actually true. His best 2 looks, his 2 wins happened when he was living in Toronto and I wasn't training with him. So those are probably his best years.
Pure fluke.
So I said, well, I built you up all to that point. All you had to do was tie it down now.
Yeah.
Oh, I said, or they were weak shows, one or the other.
Right, exactly. You got
good shows. I just busted balls. Yeah, I was at his first pro win though, and I actually got brought on stage. It was in Orlando. He won that show, and when they gave him the mic, when Bob Ciccarello gave him the mic, he thanked me first for being by him all these years. So Bob was like, well, where's Paul at right now? And then Fouad was like, he's right there. And Bob's like, get on stage right now, Paul. So I'm like pushing people out of my way, trying to get on stage, you know.
You're like, I'm the ultimate fan. I'm coming up on stage.
Yeah, and that was one of Betty Parizo's shows.
Yeah.
You know, Betty and Ed Parizo, and you know they give those trophies of that like that big like you know that big sculpture, that big bodybuilder dude. I
Right.
was want to carry that off the stage and stuff, man. It's like my trophy, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. I've got a lot of questions about judging, man, because
Yeah,
I think, what's it like to be a judge, dude?
I
People
love
say
being a
the
judge.
people say some stupid shit though, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. But you know, but I always I feel like judging should be a little bit transparent. You know, like I don't think it should. Like I think we should have to like. There's a fine line you got to draw, right? Like, yeah, you should be able to articulate your you know your choices, obviously, but you can't answer every single person that asks you because you'd be at shows and spending your entire life on your phone, you know, answering
Yeah.
questions. But you know, so I take a lot of pride in my judging. I do. I take a lot of pride in it. I've been doing it a long time, and I love judging the pro qualifiers, especially because you know there's a lot on the line there. You know, there's a lot on the line for people there, and I take that responsibility seriously. And so I try to make sure that you know I get my calls right. And there's a lot of you get a lot of adrenaline as a judge at times, you know, because like you'll be judging like a big show, like a pro qualifier, and when you're moving guys around on stage and that, and the crowd's getting into it, the guys are getting into it, you know, like I feed off that too. It's exciting, you know. I love doing it. It's great. I love judging great shows.
What is there anything that stands out where you had someone where you didn't have them first, but then they just fucking won you over?
Yeah, well, yeah, you've seen shows, right? Like you'll see like a guy will come out and he's like, you know, he'll fade a little bit as the show goes on, you know, and you have to really. And I think as a judge, like you need to be on top of it to see these small changes that are going on. And I always that's why like whenever I do posing clinics and that, I always stress to competitors, make sure you work on your posing because it'll happen on stage. If you're not in shape to pose, you'll start to flatten out on stage because you're huffing and puffing, you can't keep up, you know, you're taking all this oxygen out of your muscles because you're trying to breathe because you're breathing so hard, and your body will start to reflect that. You'll start to fade, and you know, you can see that happening over the course of a show sometimes, and it's cool. Like, you know, you get like two guys who are neck and neck, and then one guy's starting to fade, and one guy's getting better as the show's going on. You know, yeah, like I've definitely had those situations before where I've had a guy in first, and as we're working him on stage, as we get, you know, towards the end, you know, now the other guy's looking better, you know, and it's cool when that happens because it's obviously a tight show when that happens, you know.
Right. Right. Do you remember do you remember any situations where you were the tiebreaker and you knew it? Has that happened? Or do you not know you're the
uh,
tiebreaker? Like how does that work?
Well, head judge breaks ties.
Yeah, yeah,
And I haven't, as a head judge, I have not had to break a tie yet. It's a head judge's decision, right? A head
yeah.
judge can order a class rejudged again at the night if he feels that it's too close, whatever the case may be. He can order that class rejudged again at the nighttime, or he can take it upon himself to break the tie if it's something that he feels strongly about, you know, which I've seen happen before too. But I personally haven't had to make that decision yet.
Right. Play God.
And you kind of, yeah. But you know what though? But that's why the head judge should be your most experienced judge, obviously, right? Because sometimes you do got to make a call like that. And if it's a pro card on the line, you know, you're messing with, you know, someone's potential income is on the line as well. So
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah,
lot
a lot
riding
of
on it at
pressure.
times. Yeah, there can be for
Yeah.
sure. And then we talk about, you know, judging pro shows, which unfortunately I've only had the opportunity to judge one so far because of COVID. I haven't been able, and then all the pro shows last year in Canada were canceled. But there's money on the line now, you know, so people's livelihoods are on the line and there's money on the line, and you know, you got to get your calls right.
Right. Do you think that, like that post show, you judge, everyone goes, competes, and then the next day everyone's reflecting on, how they looked and their placings and stuff. Do you feel like you get hounded more now or before? Like,
The
is there a
social media.
culture? Yeah, and well, it's a culture change, like people wanting to know why they place where they
Oh,
do. Like, do people
yeah.
come to the judges a lot more now?
Yeah, I think so. The more so than like when I was competing as an amateur, until I got to be a judge myself and I started to know the judges, then obviously I felt, you know, comfortable approaching them. But before that, yeah, I felt very uncomfortable or intimidated, whatever, approaching judges. I think now, you know, yeah, now it's a lot more interactive for sure. Now we do posing clinics and things like that where judges are out there, working with competitors, not working with them, but, showing them proper posing and stuff even before the competition. So,
Right.
in a lot of these competitions too, you get to know the same competitors. I mean, judges also handle most of the registrations the night before. So, you're weighing people in, you're doing their heights and that. So you get to know them a little bit before the show begins.
Yeah. Okay. Here, I got to get some Instagram questions because the people clearly put their effort in. What's your coffee cup say? What's that say?
You see it?
Dad,
my wife taught me that.
Legend.
My wife taught me that. She's got one that says, what's her say? Wife, mother, boss.
Oh, yeah. There you go. There you go. There you go. That's good. Okay, here's one. We're going to start off. These are quick hitters. How many days in a row is it acceptable to wear the same pants to the gym?
Okay, if they're meshed, twice. If not, once.
Okay, so there's a caveat. if they're mesh, I can get on board with that. The thin gas mesh ones, especially if it was just arm day or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Unless it's leg day or back day.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Leg day and back day straight in. I don't wear them 2 in a row, but I try to give each pair of pants 2 workouts. I have a little rotation system on a hook on the back of my door. So like if I wear them for shoulders, I'll hang them up. And then maybe like the next chest day in the rotation, I'll pull them down and I give them a second hit.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's way more than I think put into it. But that's awesome.
I can't do it 2 days in a row because I don't want anyone to catch me.
Well, yeah, I wasn't that smart and I got caught and I got called up.
Okay.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for watching another podcast here at Think Big Bodybuilding Media. And thank you to our great sponsor, TrueNutrition.com, for making this all possible. TrueNutrition.com is owned by Dante Trudell, the creator of DC Training. He wanted to create a supplement company that offered high-quality, third-party tested supplements at a fair price. High-quality protein powders, just about every type you could think of. Huge variety of flavors, plus health and performance supplements. Check them out, TrueNutrition.com. And hey, if you use our code ADVICES, you directly support our podcasting. Thanks, guys. Let's get back to the program.
I need you to rank the members of your podcast in order of favorite to least favorite.
God, that's fucking put me on the spot. I'm going to insult someone.
Yeah. Favorite to least favorite.
Favorite?
Yeah.
Well, if I don't say Fouad, he's going to never put me on the podcast again. So Fouad.
Okay. Come on. I'm sure there's a very understandable reason why someone's last. I'm sure they won't even be offended.
No, they won't be. But okay. You put me on the spot though. I'm gonna have to give it to you. Okay. Second?
Yep.
Oh, fuck. I really like James.
Okay, James, nice second favorite is James. He's doing good. Okay.
But okay, I want to put it out there though. Like this is just random. Like I don't like anyone more than I like them all. They're all awesome guys. I just want to say that. But I'm being put on the spot here, so I have to put.
You put on the spot. You mean put on the spot.
Okay. Third, guy. Okay. Guy's cool. Shit, I'm leaving out fucking Ian next.
Yeah. You got Ian and Nick. Okay.
Nick, I love Nick.
Okay. And then so Ian's your least favorite, and then you got Ben. So Ben and Ian are tied for least favorite.
I like them. I love them both, and they're both
tied.
Awesome
they're
guys.
Equally loved.
Yes. I was put on the spot there. I had to come up with a rank.
That was Ian's question, by the way.
Was it?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. No, that's good.
I'll ask him how his mustache is going.
Hey, he got what he deserved on that one.
Yeah. Right? I got to grow my mustache. That's my next thing.
Hey, I see him at the gym now every day with that mustache.
Oh, that's right. He's up there with you right now.
Yeah, he's out of West Coast. He's an Ontario refugee.
Me and Fouad are coming up there in a few weeks with our wives.
Yeah. I was told that was a possibility, but no one confirmed.
Yeah. No, it's gonna happen.
You're gonna have to talk to the owner of the gym, see if he'll let you in.
Absolutely. I think we get a couple passes, maybe.
Hey, you never know. I might know somebody. Just don't just show up unannounced to be offended that he wasn't given a heads up. Let me ask you this one. What's your most embarrassing memory of Fouad?
Fuck. Most embarrassing memory of Fouad. Like my memory of him or his memory of me?
Oh, either one. I don't know. I guess I was thinking, what do you think that would embarrass Fouad? That's kind of what I meant. It'd be funny. It's like where you're like, oh man, he was so embarrassed.
I got him high recently, and he wouldn't talk for like 4 straight hours.
Oh, no way. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I got him high, and I swear to God, he didn't say a fucking word for 4 hours straight. He didn't like it, and he wanted it to stop, and
Did he think it was like 20 minutes?
No, he was so mad at me because he said even when he got home, he couldn't talk. He said he wasn't okay till the next day.
What did you just have a puff and it was just too much for him?
Like 2 fucking puffs, man.
Yeah. So I have to admit, so we were supposed to do this 10:30 a.m. PST, right?
Yeah.
Normally when I record, we normally do a show then, but then you had to move it because you had some like parental duties.
Yeah, my wife.
And then I realized that was actually a really great idea because I know it's 9 p.m. where you are when we started the show. I know there's no way you're not high. So, like, if we record in the morning, I might get like normal you, right? You're holding
you got a small window there, Ron.
But a small window, right? Yeah, I know 9 p.m. There's no way.
No way. No. I had not wait till 9 p.m.
Yeah, no, I knew that we would definitely get a good version of Paul. Lots of questions. First one, tell us a story about the first time you smoked weed.
First time? Fuck. Man, that would have been like high school, I guess. I don't know. I don't remember. But I'll tell you the first time I smoked resin. Because that was a couple years ago.
Oh, okay. I think past 5-year mark. I can't remember anymore.
No.
Okay.
But yeah, that was awesome. It was like the first time again. Wow. Yeah, I never tried it before. And I went to a lounge one night with some guys, and one of the guys brought, took some out, and I think I had like 2, maybe 3 hoots on the, mechanism, what the fuck they're called, and
what dab things? Do they have a little torch and everything?
Exactly. Yeah. It's exactly like that, but it's not. But what dabs, though, from my understanding is, there's like butane involved, so there's like some byproduct in there. This is like just pure. I guess it's picked right off the plant as soon, and then it's like flash frozen, I think, or something like that. But yeah, man, fucking
good stuff.
That's what I'm gonna graduate to eventually.
Oh. You weren't super functional though, were you?
I just could not stop laughing for everything was just hilarious to me.
Man. What's your favorite post-puff snack?
Cookies. Chocolate chip cookies.
Of course. Chocolate chip cookies. Chocolate chip cookies are like the only thing I need outside of contest food.
Yeah. We always got a box in my house. Always.
Like I could eat egg whites and oatmeal and steak and rice for the rest of my life if I can have chocolate chip cookies.
I got into a really bad habit of binging them in the middle of the night a while back, but I finally kicked that.
Damn. Okay. Most difficult call as a judge?
I've had a couple. Regan and Chris Bumstead. When they were both juniors, I judged them together at nationals. Or sorry, not nationals at the time. It was the provincials.
2015 Ontario's.
Yeah, those two. Yeah, that was a tough call between those two. And we fucked that up as judges because we had them flip-flop. So they both did juniors and open. And I forget which one, but I want to say Regan was like first in juniors. And then in their open class, Chris, I think, was like second or third, and Regan was like one spot behind them. So they got flip-flopped, you know what I'm saying? And so as you know, it's all an obvious, mistake as a judging panel. But that was like one of the first super shows where we had to like judge like 600 athletes in like under like 3 hours or something crazy like that. Like we had like extremely tight timelines to work with. So things just got, mixed up a little bit. But that was definitely one of the toughest calls I ever had to make.
Damn. What's one aspect of bodybuilding from the 90s that you would love to bring to the new generation, bring back to the new generation?
I miss just a lot of things about the 90s. I miss the subculture of bodybuilding, like in the gyms. Like the gyms were like subcultures. Now, I mean, it's not a bad thing, I guess, but it's just different. Like now, anybody goes to the gym, for all different reasons, and gyms have evolved to, accommodate many different people for whatever reasons. But I miss that subculture of the '90s in the gym. I miss that for sure. I miss the era of the guest poser. Like you look forward to so and so coming to your hometown. Because before the internet, you couldn't see these guys. I
the
miss
excitement.
that. Yeah, like when Dorian Yates came to Windsor.
Oh yeah.
It was like Michael Jackson coming to town or something, like every bodybuilder was, going to take that day off and make sure they saw him. Like, yeah, we used to have a Muscle Mag store in Windsor back in the day. And the guy, Derek, that owned it, he'd bring in like some pros. He brought in Paul DeMeo, Quadzilla. He brought in Mike Francois, Lee Priest. He brought in like some really good guys. And, and Nim was promoting shows back in those days too. And Nim used to always bring in big guest posers. So, like Roddy Coleman, he had him guest poser once. Jay Cutler, so yeah, I miss those days. You don't see guest posers anymore when I judge shows, very rarely.
No, the financials have changed. It's funny. It's just the shift in the dynamic and where the money is and where the money isn't. Yeah, and where the expenses pile up, and it's crazy. I mean, you promote a show, So we promote a show out here too. So West Coast Iron is the title sponsor of the Van City Showdown in October.
Oh, the new pro show.
And, So there's a women's pro class.
Okay.
There. Yeah. But it's not a pro qualifier.
No, right. But there's a pro.
Yeah. There's a pro league show attached to it. Yeah. So, but this will be the 4th year in a row that we're doing the show. So, we have some promotional experience, but you and Fouad been doing that show now for like 10 years, haven't you?
We're our Windsor show. We've been doing it for a little while now. We've been doing it. Last year would have been our 10th anniversary, but we had to cancel it. So this year, because of COVID, we put both shows together. We have an open show and a natural show. So this year we decided to combine them both together because we're probably not going to be able to have spectators and, the whole cancellation thing and rescheduling thing. So we put them both together this year. So if it runs this year, it'll be the 11th year that we've ran. Well, the 10th year that we've actually had the Windsors, and it'll be our 7th year with the Mississauga show, Toronto show.
Yeah, you're right about the subculture and the guest posers. I think that the thing about that, it's like it happens with everything.
Yeah, it evolves.
The 90s was that, if you can imagine like a bubble sort of swelling and then it pops.
Yeah.
That was the 90s. It was growing and getting awesome, and then it like popped and went everywhere in all these directions. Sort
like
of
fitness popped, you mean?
Yeah, like fitness popped. Like then all these other divisions came in and it just spread out all over, because I remember the days when like the bodybuilders in town all trained at one gym.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a bodybuilder's gym for sure.
That's a bodybuilder's gym. And then you go to the other gyms, there's no bodybuilders.
Right.
But now it's like you go to any gym anywhere and there's someone who looks like they maybe do physique or compete or something.
Right.
Some kid with good arms and delts who's got like a Gymshark shirt on and he's doing something that's clearly off Instagram, like he's doing hack squats with a band.
Right.
Or you know what I mean? Like it's everywhere.
And you see him practicing his men's physique poses in the mirror between sets and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's
he's competing.
So it's that weird sort of thing where like, if I think back to the 90s, I remember all of us sitting around, Pizza Hut all you can eat night.
Yeah, off season, you got to bulk up.
Oh man, and saying stuff like, man, I wish there was more prize money for these guys, and I wish there was more exposure for these guys, and I wish this was bigger, and I wish the public appreciated this more.
Right.
And now we're there.
Right.
And there is more prize money. Like the Olympia is $400,000 now, and there's way more opportunities. And your phone in your hand is like the world.
Right.
If you're a fucking cyborg with a phone, like you don't have an excuse.
Right. For sure.
And we have delivered bodybuilding to the world. Everyone from the 90s, I sort of see everyone from the 90s, like we delivered it.
Yeah, for sure.
Now we're like kind of pissed off because it's not ours anymore.
Yeah. Right. You're right. And you see it with gyms too. Like back in those days, gyms were all owned by bodybuilders for the most part. They were like, privately owned at least. They weren't owned by corporations. I think Gold's Gym was one of the only corporate gyms that, and they were a bodybuilding brand, back in those days. You had like Vic Tanny's for a little while. I guess that was like your only fitness kind of gym,
Yeah.
But you know, but yeah, now they're all corporate pretty much, you know. I mean, that's why it's cool to see a gym like yours, you know, like there's still a place for bodybuilders, you know, and I think it's awesome. Me and Fouad want
Well,
to winter eventually too.
I really can't wait to get you guys out here because I really hope you love the gym because it's just it's very rare. You know, like
Yeah,
I've traveled around doing my show Mutant on a Mission, and you've been around with,
yeah,
you know, training, and you've hit the road a lot, and it's just very rare to find a real bodybuilder gym. And it was funny because, you know, Gary V.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Gary V was saying, like, this was, you know, years ago before we started the gym. Gary V was saying, he's like, you know, nostalgia will always have some value if you do it right.
Right,
There's always going to be some people that are like, fuck, I used to love this and now it's back. And
right.
I thought, well, gee, because that's what I was thinking about the gym. I was
Yeah,
like, you know, kind of bring it back a little bit, like, you know, crank the music, you know,
right,
put out a chalk bin, like, you know,
right.
that
Yeah,
sort of thing.
exactly.
And so that was one of the things that we did with the gym. We just kind of gambled on the nostalgia of just simplifying it. No, we don't have hot yoga, and we
Right,
don't have a steam room.
right.
You're paying this much a month, and you get 5 leg presses, and they're all different,
That's
right?
awesome.
You know what I mean? Like, and you
Right,
get, you know, like you don't get like one leg extension, and if it's broken, you're fucked. You
right.
don't get, like, you know how the corporates are.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so a little gamble on it, and it, you know, a little mixed with the right place at the right time, and you know, so.
Have you been to Dorian's place up here?
No, I haven't been to Pure. My business partner did a shack, Steve did a shack. You know who
Yes,
Steve
he's
did a
been there.
shack is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've judged Steve a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Ditto's been out to Pure and stuff. And also my other partner Corey was out there with him. So they both
Okay.
saw it. So they said it was beautiful, you know. It's
Oh,
like they've got it set up like a showroom in there.
yeah. Well, now they just increased their size by more than double.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what it is. It's like the best equipment you can find. Multiple varieties of everything. And yeah, there's no yoga going on. There's no protein bar, nothing like
No,
that. You
no,
just go there
no.
and train. But you can
Yeah.
have the best equipment around. And you never have to wait for
Yeah.
anything. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. No, we have fun, you know. And we do some cool stuff too, like Friday night we'll crank the metal, you know.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So
that's
yeah,
cool.
you know, that sort of thing. So
That's awesome.
you gotta make it fun.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
how does it feel? How does it feel to be suddenly finding a second wave of fame in the industry?
Fouad always bust my balls for that every day. He's always like, "Your head's getting too big." Like it's because of you. I don't know, man. Like it's flattering. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't know, man. Like, I don't really. I wonder sometimes why anybody would want to talk to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really have much to say. So I don't know. It's just cool. Like, yeah, it's flattering. I guess I could say. That.
Well, there's something to be appreciated about someone who's actually seen what they're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and yeah, that's what I really like doing that with when Fouad and we did it with James last year when we did those live sort of play-by-plays for shows. We did it for
Yeah.
the Olympia and a couple other shows. I love doing that because bodybuilding is my passion. It has been since I was a child. My dad used to weight train. He used to buy all the magazines. I used to read them when I was a kid, and bodybuilding's always been a passion for me. So yeah, I mean, it is one thing that I do know what I'm talking about. One of the few things. So I enjoy talking about it, and I like doing podcasts because it's like it's just you and I talking. You know what I mean? Like, so I just feel comfortable doing it. Like
Yeah.
I hate public speaking. I hate it. I'm horrible at it. I hate it, and I've had to do it as a judge and as I was Western Regional Director for the OPA for a while. So I had to give speeches before shows, and I hate doing it. I get really nervous about it. But doing this, I feel very comfortable.
Awesome. Here's a good one. Dead or alive, who would you like to get blazed with? Dead or alive?
Anybody?
Yeah, anybody.
There's so many. I got to pick one, or I got
Yeah.
to pick a few. Just
Yeah,
one.
I'll pick name a few. Name a few.
Like Mike Tyson. That'd be a
Oh,
trip.
okay. Damn.
Snoop. I'd love to get high with Snoop.
Imagine
Although
imagine getting high with Mike Tyson and he starts leaning in and squinting and
well,
talking about fucking punching people in the wouldn't that be something
yeah.
else?
Well, I want to
Oh,
make sure he does. Yeah, I want to smoke something that's gonna calm him
the
down.
last wasn't that the one time he was on Rogan, he started talking about the animal inside him and you started to wonder if Joe's like leaning back a little in the seat.
Yeah, let me rethink the Tyson one. Maybe that's not a good one. I need something more mellow. Probably Snoop. Snoop would be cool.
Probably Snoop. Yeah, man, that's funny. Oh, geez. So when it comes to coaching people, you never got into that.
Yeah, for a little while, but then once I started getting more involved with judging, it's a clear conflict. So
what's your take on the coaching industry now? And as a judge, when you look up at the stage and you see all the competitors, do you think that the coaching thing is doing what it's supposed to be doing? Is it delivering or not?
for good coaches, yeah, definitely. And good coaches, they need to, I think a good coach is someone who can adapt to his client, isn't someone who just gives a program, like, has a system, so to speak, that he's just
Right.
is going to work for everybody. But over the years, like, I've seen some great trainers with great teams, like going way back, Scott Abel. Scott Abel is a man. Like, his guys all came in, you knew was an able athlete in the show.
Scott helped me win my first national title in 07.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I used to work with
Yeah.
Scott, didn't you, back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Scott
He was ahead
the
of his
man.
time.
For sure he was. Definitely. I tell people that all the time. He was definitely ahead of his time. And I always wonder, like, if he would ever come back again, if someone were to ask him to come back.
I remember, like, using salt on all my food and people thought I was crazy.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
like, it was just stuff that people were like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah,
Scott explained it to me.
He was one of the first ones that would have you do, like, refeed days or cheat days,
Yeah, I had huge calorie days.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and the salting of food, he was big in sodium. Well, remember his wife, Laura Benetti, back in the day?
Yeah.
Like,
shredded to the bone.
Shredded. Like, guys weren't getting that shredded.
Oh.
She was a little bit ahead of her time.
Yeah.
Women's bodybuilding hadn't progressed to that point where she was yet.
Another thing too was Scott Abel had me doing bike sprints
Really?
in like 2005.
Like HIIT type stuff?
Yeah.
Really?
And like
That's way before
nobody
it
else
became
was
popular.
doing it. Oh,
Yeah.
we were way ahead of it. He was so far ahead of it that I think he left it because it
Really?
was just like, people didn't really want to do it. Like, I remember it was like a weird thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear about guys doing that back then. So you'd have you do it like on an exercise bike?
I'd be on a bike and I'd do like an all out 45-second sprint. And then I'd cruise on easy for like a couple minutes and then I'd crank it up a bit and go again. And it was all about heart rate and everything.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember I got that was 2006 when Fouad turned pro.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was super fucking peeled for that show and I did HIIT cardio.
Really?
And like, I remember it was hard.
Yeah.
And stuff, but I didn't do a lot of it. I did like a few sessions of HIIT cardio a week and I was just peeled,
Really?
So it was interesting, but everyone thought it was like crazy. People at the gym were like, what are you doing?
Yeah, because back then it was steady state.
Yeah.
That was it. Low intensity, steady state cardio was all anyone was doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how do you feel about, does it bother you when you see someone on stage and they've got a coach, but the coach doesn't know what he's talking about and the person's paying the price for it?
I've told guys, I'll tell guys straight up because I want to see guys do well, right? Like, and as I try to always give honest feedback to people because you don't want to, tell someone, you're going to be good, or whatever, you're going to do fine, and they get blown away. And they're like, hey, you said I was going to do good, So I try to be very honest with people. And when I see someone with potential and I feel like they're not reaching that potential because they're not coming in shows ready, I'll talk to them, be like, hey, who's your coach? And if they tell me it's like, this guy from the gym that, I met, whatever, who doesn't really seem like, somebody who should be doing a contest prep, then I'll be like, well, here's some suggestions for you. Maybe you should move coaches because, you got a lot of potential with the right coach. You probably could make something out of this, So I pulled several guys aside before and done that.
Yeah. What's, you ever get any bad receptions from that or?
No, never. No. No, I've had lots of guys thank me. I just had a couple of guys recently thank me on Instagram. Like this one guy, he's got a lot of potential. He's getting ready for nationals. And I judged him like 3 or 4 times. And every time I judge him, I could see his potential, but he'd always come in out of shape. So finally, the last time I just grabbed him out in the hallway and I was like, listen, man, this is like the 4th time I judge you. You come in off every single time. You've got a ton of potential. Who's your coach? And then he was like, it's like my brother-in-law, whatever, something like that. And I was like, listen, hire yourself a good coach. Here's some good coaches locally. You should consider one of these guys because you got potential. You're wasting your time with these guys. You should have been past this level by now. So,
right.
Yeah. And he just messaged me a little while ago. He's like, hey, I'm prepping for nationals. I'm looking my best ever. Thanks for that advice.
Yeah. That's awesome. Is that one of the main, would that be one of the main rewards of judging, that sort of thing?
It's always cool, like, I've just some things off the top of my head that I remember doing. Like, there was one show I was registering the athletes for on the Friday night before the show, and there's this young bodybuilder kid who was weighing in for juniors, and he looked awesome, this kid, and I forget his name right now. And anyway, I went and checked I wanted to see what he was competing in, so I went and checked his sheet, and I saw he only picked juniors. And I was like, no, man, like, this guy's going to win the freaking overall if he does open, and he's going to move on to the next level. If he does juniors, he doesn't qualify for anything, So,
Right.
like,
Yeah. It's just a show. Yeah.
yeah. So I went up to him and I was like, listen, man, like, you got to do open. Like, you can do juniors too, but you got to do open. You're going to win this show. And next year, you're going to do a pro qualifier. Like, otherwise, you just do juniors. You got to come back here again next year to qualify for pro qualifier. You're wasting a year of your time. You're ready. Like, go get some money, go sign up for it. And he didn't have all the money or something. So me and another judge kind of put some money together for him and paid his registration. And the kid won the overall easily. And last time I saw him was at a national pro qualifier a couple of years ago. And like, he was like second in his class. Like, he's knocking on the door now. Like, he could get a pro card pretty soon, this kid, if he keeps working at it and keep improving. So, like, yeah, like, situations like that, and then he came up and thanked me and the other judge that helped him out, and things like that, stay with you. It feels good, for sure.
Yeah. 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 Helping somebody, navigate the craziness.
Yeah, well, he was just a young kid that didn't know any better. He's like, he didn't think that he looked as good as he did. He just, a lot of us are like that, that insecurities, whatever we are as bodybuilders. He just didn't think that he had what it took to go in the open yet. He wanted to just do juniors. But when I saw him weighing in, I was like, this dude, fucking gonna win this show, man. Like, he's got to do open, and he was only like an 18 or 19-year-old kid.
I remember going to my very first show and I thought I was going to go do juniors because I thought junior was 21 and under.
Yeah.
But it was under 21.
Yes.
Right.
Under 21.
So I went there expecting to do juniors and I was going to do the men's heavyweight, like, just for the hell of it anyways. Yeah. Right. So I was going to do juniors and men's heavyweight. And I got there and they're like, oh, you're too old for juniors. And I'm like, oh shit, I just doing men's heavyweight. And I assumed that there would be like 10 other juniors there like me.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of heavyweights there about my size.
Yeah.
And I remember I weighed in at 230 and I had like striations in my glutes and everyone was coming up to me. They're like, where are you from? And I was like, oh, I'm from up north. And they're like, what's going on? Like, you thought you were a junior? And I'm like, yeah, I'm 21. And they're like, you're only 21. And then I realized that there were like, I think there was only one other junior. So like, he was the only one in juniors. And then the men's heavyweight was just two guys.
Really?
Me and one, but I thought there was going to be like 20 guys because I had only seen like shows that had, like, I'd seen a couple national shows by that point. Mm-hmm. I'd never been to a regional show.
Oh, so yeah, some of them could be small.
So I was just thinking like, nationals, like, oh, it's going to go there and it's going to be crazy. So yeah, when you're a young kid going to your first show, it could be overwhelming.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For sure it can.
So I'm going to ask you the big question. I'm going to ask you a philosophical question to end with.
All right, I'm ready for it.
Leave all the bodybuilding behind and all the judging and everything.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
Give people a serious sort of like, see what you have to say. Mm-hmm. What's the meaning of life, Paul?
Me and Fouad talk about this kind of stuff. We do. We sometimes when the car rides to and from the gym, we get deep. Okay, this is what we've come up with. It's a game. Life is a game. You're not going to change the rules of the game. We all got to play by the preset rules that we all have to live under. But you try to make your way the best way through that game, and at the end of that game, whatever that is, whatever God determines it is, whatever, you want to just have yourself and your family and your loved ones set up as best as possible. So, that like sometimes we talk politics and that, and sometimes I can get wound up on stuff, he can get wound up on stuff, and then like kind of be like, you can't change the world, man. You can't change what's going on in the world. All you can do is make your lot better in it and the people around you, better. And, so I think once you've accepted that, and I think you kind of find some peace with that when you've accepted that I just got to worry about, what I'm doing and what the people around me are doing. That's all I can really control in this life. So just try to do the best what I can.
I love that because I actually have found that one of the only ways for me to stay sane and not lose my mind, because a lot of stuff makes me want to lose my mind, I just focus on trying to just keep my shit together.
Yeah, what you can control.
Personal responsibility.
Yeah. You listen to Jordan Peterson?
Yeah, all the
I love
time.
Jordan Peterson. I love that guy.
So many things he said I didn't realize were already like tumbling around in my head, but just hadn't been like kind of like pinned down yet
Yeah.
as important. Like, you know how sometimes you'll have a thought in your head and you'll think, oh, that sounds good, but
Hmm.
you don't realize that it's actually one of like the fundamental things that you should pay attention to, and you let it like fly away.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
then when I started listening to him a lot, I'm like, oh, I've thought of a lot of these things, like, but I just didn't like grab them because I didn't realize how important they were,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it trickles into your life, like, just like finish things, like, like the whole concept of not leaving things, all the loose ends undone.
Right. Which, yeah, like procrastinating, things like that, you mean?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
Which I'm everybody, I guess, maybe not everybody, but everybody procrastinates a little bit. And I do that to myself sometimes, but it'll stay like if I got like a few things that I procrastinate on, it'll stay like a weight on me until I finally get them finished. And it might take a couple of weeks, might take a couple of days, whatever the case may be, but I don't feel like that kind of free.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's always like a burden until I finally get them done. The important things, I mean, and
yeah,
then once I do, I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of feel like I can breathe again a little bit, breathe
yeah,
easier. But yeah, what else? I don't know. You read any like Stoic stuff?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
One of my friends turned me on to that a little while ago, and that's all. And that's basically what the philosophy is too. I believe like it's like you can only control what your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions. Only three things you can control. So worry about that and everything else. Don't waste your energy on kind of thing. So I
yeah.
try to think about that way too.
Try and strip things down.
Yeah, and I
I
find it with. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I went and saw Jordan Peterson live.
Did you? Where?
Yeah, well, him and Sam Harris
Oh yeah,
did. It was like a friendly debate,
yeah, the TED
and
Talk or something.
yeah, and Brett Weinstein
Yeah,
moderated
yeah.
it. So I
Really?
saw those three guys live in Vancouver.
Fuck, three intellects, eh?
Yeah, and I'm a huge Sam Harris fan.
Yeah, I like
So
his meditation stuff.
so I went to see them, and my friend and I were blown away. Like, I mean, I knew they were popular, and I knew it would be sold out, but it was like a rock star. Like
Really?
when they announced Sam Harris, the crowd just popped, like screaming, and then he comes out and waves and sits, and then they announce Jordan Peterson, the crowd pops again, just screaming.
Really?
And
Oh,
it was so crazy because they and then even Brett Weinstein got like a crazy
yeah.
reception because he's loved.
Yeah.
They came out and did their thing, and at the end of the 3 hours, I don't remember how long it was. It was like 3 hours. We were leaving, and it was really great. It was really great. Like, it was like very intellectual but easy to follow,
Hmm.
and the crowd was kind of involved. Like, there was some cheering, and it was just great. But when we were leaving, there was all these people just bawling.
Really?
And it was really interesting because they were happy. They were
Right.
like, happy. But it goes to show, like, there's a lot of people out there that have like a craving for some kind of intellectual help.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson talks about that.
Like, there's like the chaos, in the head, and just how to
Yeah.
sort that out. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was very, very interesting.
Jordan Peterson, I heard him talk about that, where he talks about like how one of his main themes that he talks about is responsibility for yourself and for your family, for your community, and he talks about how when he does these talks and afterwards he's approached by young men who are like they've been craving someone to put these words out there for them, because
Yeah.
they just connect with it and they cling to it, and I think he's helped me through like everybody goes through stuff once in a while. Like, I've had moments where I'm going through some stuff, and I'm having a hard time dealing with it. And he's my go-to for listening to things to help me get through stuff. Sam
Yeah.
Harris too, but Jordan Peterson is my go-to. Um,
Yeah.
I would love to see him live.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very, very interesting. It was quite the environment. It was like one of the most, I don't know how I describe this. Like, when you're in a really positive environment,
Yeah,
like when you go to see a good comedian, like, Bill
yeah,
Burr comes out on stage, everyone's happy, right?
yeah.
It was more than that. It was like this, it was positive and happy, but it wasn't like they were there to see a comedian. It was like there was this thick emotional response in the air.
Really,
It was really, really crazy event.
that was
So if
good
you
to
ever,
be a part of.
yeah, it was only a couple of years ago before he got sick, right? So,
Yeah, he's okay now though. Eh?
yeah, he's okay now. So, but if you ever get a chance to go see any of those guys live,
I would capitalize.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
wouldn't miss that opportunity if it came up.
yeah, even drag Fouad.
Fouad loves Jordan Peterson too.
Yeah.
He would definitely go.
Yeah, for sure.
He would definitely go.
Yeah, awesome, man. Hey, listen, I got like 100 questions left I didn't get to, but you gave me an hour, and I really appreciate it, Paul.
Oh, it's awesome, Ron. It's good to talk to you again. I haven't seen you in so long.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even tell people our history, but I've been seeing you at the shows since you started, coming to them with Fouad, and Fouad was one of the guys that I had to compete against in my battles. So it was I've been seeing you for a long time at the shows, and I know you've seen it all, and I've seen you do the the posse walk through the Olympia Expo with Fouad and that whole thing. Do
you remember the first time? Do you remember the first time we kind of hung out?
I don't remember the first time. Well, I'll remember it if you tell me. I won't remember it was the first time.
After the Nationals in Montreal, 2008.
Oh, yeah.
You and Louis Joseph.
Yeah. We went for a little walk.
Yes.
Yeah. That's funny. Okay. Yeah. That's funny. I was thinking of like the Olympia or something. I was like, when was it? When was that?
Yeah, it was after Nationals.
Yeah, Nationals 2008. Me and Lou were out on the lawn having a meeting.
And I joined you guys. Yes.
Yeah. You got to have a meeting. Got to have a meeting after the night show.
Absolutely, you do. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, I look forward to seeing you, and maybe we'll sit down and partake next time.
Yeah, man, I'd love to, Ron. Well, I'll tell you, we're coming down. We'll let you know. We're coming down. I think it's in about maybe within the next 4 weeks or so.
Yeah. Didn't we come to your hotel room for a while?
Yeah, you guys did.
Yeah,
you and Louis did.
Came up to your room after too. I think I ate a whole bag of your cookies.
We had a whole bunch of junk food in my room. Excuse me. I had a photo shoot the next day for Muscle Tech because at the time I was doing this transformation sponsorship for them. Excuse me. And I could not hold it together. Like I just ate so much food that night with you and Louis. My waist was blown out. I had no abs left. I was just a water bag.
I remember being worried. I was like, I'd never smoked so much in a hotel room before.
I didn't want to say anything, but
so I was like, is someone gonna is this too much to because I'm the type of guy would always go outside, right? I don't want to get like a $250 ticket for cleaning up hotel room. And that was back when I was worried they would do it too, right?
Yeah, I know. The room was under Muscle Tech, so I didn't care.
Oh, Muscle Tech. That's what gave a shit. Yeah. I was like, are you guys worried about the room? Because we're just hotbox the fuck out of that.
We
room.
were. I think we put some towels under the door, didn't we?
Yeah. Like, it was going to keep it out. Like, it all.
I remember Fouad couldn't come up with me for that show. Because he was prepping for the Olympia, so he stayed in Windsor. And I remember he was trying to get a hold of me to find out how I did, and I wasn't answering my phone because we were blazing. So I remember when I finally answered my phone like 2 or 3 hours later, he was like, "What the fuck's going on over there?" I was like, "I'm just chilling with Ron and Louis." And he's like, "You're big." He was like,
Yeah. I remember I think he called and he goes, "Did Ron win?" And and the guy on the phone, I can't remember if it was you or not. He goes, "No, he got second." And I heard Fouad over the phone go, "Fuck."
Yeah, I think it was me. Yeah.
I was like, well, at least I know he was cheering for me.
Yeah, he was pulling for you. Fouad's always liked you.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, yeah. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you,
I'll see you soon. Yeah, I had some laughs, You don't realize there was a lot of pressure with this episode on me because people were like, "Oh, if you're having Paul on, it better be funny."
Really?
I'm like, "Oh, great. I can't just have a good chat with my buddy. It's got to be funny now."
Yeah, we got to entertain you guys.
You got to entertain. You got to dance like a monkey and.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're here to entertain you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Ron. Good to talk to you again.
Yeah, peace.
I'll let you know if we're coming down.
Okay, anytime.
All right, man.
Cheers.
See ya.